All right, so back with another video. Today I wanted to talk about Demi Lovato, pronouns and all that shit, and just some of how she has come out and said certain shit about her identity in the past couple of years. So I want to say this. I think as a society, we have become obsessed with A, labels, and B, physical characteristics or surface level shit that supposedly defines who we are. That's the first part of where she's confused, is that I remember Demi Lovato making a statement. I don't know how fucking long ago this was. She made some dumbass statement, and actually I'm going to look it up. Hang on. All right, so I found an article where she talks about, she says, and this was back in August 2022, Demi Lovato feels more of a woman this year, she confesses. The singer, who earlier announced that she is gender fluid and should be referred to as they, them, is changing her pronouns again. Speaking to Spout Podcast Tuesday, Lovato said her energy last year was balanced in my masculine and feminine energy. Oh, man. Which is fine, but, I'll explain in a second why I'm annoyed. When I was faced with the choice of walking into a bathroom and it said, women and men, I didn't feel like there was a bathroom for me because I didn't feel necessarily like a woman. The singer added, I didn't feel like a man. I just felt like a human. Okay. So, here's the issue, is that I think there's way too much meaning being placed on these labels. I think the only accurate part about what she's talking about is masculine and feminine energy. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us. Some of us have more balanced feminine energy. Some of us have more balanced masculine energy. Some of us have wounded feminine energy. Some of us have wounded masculine energy, which would influence us to then be in the other energy, if that makes sense. So say you have a serious mother wound, and you have a father who's been supportive, you're going to be more likely to be more comfortable in masculine energy because that was the influence. So all of these labels, I guess the reason I'm annoyed about it is because it's like, okay, I identify as a female, right? Quote, unquote. I feel like a human who's balanced in my masculine and feminine energies. That doesn't mean I need to change what people refer to me as, because I think what people are confused about in the 3D on this earthly plane is that doesn't matter. Just like how she is going back and she's switching them back to the other pronouns because it was so exhausting before. It's like, okay, she's sort of starting to get it in that it doesn't matter what you call yourself. She's kind of starting to get it. But this right here, almost a year ago in August, when she was claiming she didn't know what bathroom to use, once you ascend to a higher level of consciousness, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. You don't care. It's like if I have a vagina and she equals vagina, I guess I'll go in that room according to society. I think that's what people are not understanding is you need to rise above that and really understand the bigger picture that we all have masculine and feminine energies in us. Some humans have an organ that's dangling from their body, and some of them don't. Some of us don't. I mean, she's exhausted because she's making her 3D life experience way more fucking complicated than it needs to be. And unfortunately, that's because society has put us in this position. So, she continued, recently I've been feeling more feminine, and so I've adopted she, her again. But I think what's important is nobody's perfect. This is where it's she's confused. Everyone messes up pronouns at some point, and especially when people are learning. It's just all about respect. It's So I agree with this. I have no problem. I have plenty of people I know or clients I work with who use alternative pronouns and feel more in their masculine energy sometimes or more in their feminine energy. I have female identifying clients that feel more masculine. I have, you know what I mean? So, and I totally respect that. It's whatever you want to do, however you want to live your life. I respect that. Yes. And I'm also going to share my knowledge and wisdom about energy and how humans are, I think, confusing energy and feelings with the physical, if that makes sense. It's like, just because you feel more masculine or feminine doesn't mean you need to change your body parts. Because at the end of the day, if you're human, like she's saying, then it shouldn't really matter, right? Who cares what the body looks like? If I feel more in my masculine energy, dress more masculine or whatever. But I think, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with changing your body parts if you want to do that too. I just think some of that to me feels more like ego because you're concerned about the outward appearance instead of learning to accept the outward appearance and just integrate the internal energies of the masculine and feminine and not have to go through all this exhaustion like Demi Lovato's talking about of trying to get people to call you they, them. And why do you need other people's approval for who you identify as? I literally would not care because I'm sure somebody would be like, well, you wouldn't want to be called he if you didn't identify as he. Honestly, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, if you wanted to be like, hey, that's a he over there, I'd be like, if that's how you feel, cool. It's just a word. Humans made these things up. We all have masculine and feminine energy. It doesn't mean you have to go out and get surgery to change your body parts so you can feel more aligned with that energy, because what humans don't understand is penis does not always equal masculine energy, and vagina does not always equal feminine energy. I've met plenty of women, female identifying humans who were completely in their masculine energy, completely. And they didn't need to change their body parts in order for me to identify that. I could tell. If you're good at reading energy, then you can just tell. Now, the labels, I think, come, like people wanting certain labels placed on them. To me, that feels like an ego thing. It's like a defense thing of, oh, it has to be this way. Instead of saying, well, wait a second, why don't we chuck all the labels? And who gives a fuck? I mean, I get it. You need labels in order to identify who you're talking about. But it's the meaning that we've placed on them that I feel like is what's causing the exhaustion and all of this other shit, because it's like, oh, well, we need to label everything so that we can consider everybody. But what I think we're missing the point of is that's what's gotten us into trouble in the first place, is creating these stupid categories like race and gender and all this other shit, because look at how much it's dividing us. Because the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, we all have masculine, feminine energy in us, period. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how you look on the outside. I don't care what body parts you have. I don't give a fuck. We all have masculine and feminine energy. And I think society has confused us into thinking that whether we're more in our masculine energy or more in our feminine energy, that means that we then have to change our outward appearance in order to appear more socially acceptable or acceptable to people around us. Or I don't know. I think the drive sometimes for people is they do feel like they're trapped in the wrong body. And I can't say that that's wrong because I've never been there myself. I've never personally felt that way in my body. I've always felt like I'm in the vessel that I'm supposed to be in. And I think that's what maybe we're getting away from, is that it doesn't really matter how you look on the outside. It's about integrating the masculine and feminine internally and really accepting who you are outside of all these labels, outside of all these words and shit like that. So I'm going to go back to this video. So I'm going to play this video now.
Went viral over comments she made about her pronouns. Demi identifies as non-binary, meaning she doesn't really feel like she's male or female. She feels like she's other. And for a while there, she was going by they.
Okay, so that's the first thing to correct. Like, I think people are getting energies confused with feelings and identity. It's like, I don't know, that statement just bothers me. She feels. You see what I'm saying? She feels. That's would be energy to me. Hang on.
She feels like she's other. And for a while there, she was going by they, them.
So none of this exists anyways. These labels that we've placed on people, female, male, whatever, it's fake anyway. So the fact that she is, again, or not even just her, but anybody in society that's so fixated on changing their pronouns and, you know, having to pinpoint exactly the terminology that fits with their supposed identity. I don't know. I feel like I'm a human. I feel like I'm fully integrated in my masculine and feminine energies, but I don't give a fuck whether someone calls me she, he, or lamp. It's just a word. So her exhaustion comes from her ego's desire to not protect, to, I don't even know if it would be approval seeking. But to me, this is ego of needing to pinpoint something or needing to be like, I don't know how to explain it. Needing to have a label for everything in order to, like, that's the ego's way of seeking approval. Like, oh, okay, I'm, you know, I don't know how to put it into words. Because, again, if you just accept yourself for who you are, who cares whether the public or society knows that you identify as non-binary or any of these labels? Like, again, like I said, once you get to a higher level of consciousness, you just know that within yourself, what she's talking about, and you don't have to identify as shit. You're just yourself. You see what I mean?
Pronouns. But now she explains that she's gone back to she, her pronouns, saying, quote, I constantly had to educate people and explain why I identified with those pronouns.
See? Did you just hear that? She constantly had to educate and explain. That's ego. The ego leads us to protect ourselves, defend ourselves. I get it, you know, educating people on it, but her life is exhausting because she's putting any label on it, period. If you don't feel like any of these things, why even label yourself? I mean, oh, God.
Nouns. It was absolutely exhausting. I just got tired. But for that very reason, I know that it is important to continue spreading the word.
Okay. For me, my first instinct was to make fun of this. So let's get started.
Demi Lovato.
Okay, I really don't get what she means by spreading the word. What do you mean spreading the word? You got exhausted because, no offense, but her generation in particular, actually, I think she's near my age, but I feel like this is a big thing within Gen Z where it's like, oh God, we have to be labeled and you have to respect my labels. But people are confusing labels with identity. So it's like, oh, well, you've got to respect my identity. And it's like this random label that we created in the English language, she, he, her, their, them, they, blah, 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 is not even fucking real. How about that? Spread the word about what? How about everybody spreads the word about just chucking the labels and fucking living your life and not giving a shit what anybody else sees you as. You identify as you, and why don't we simplify our lives? This is crazy.